Kate. Keep evolving. Happy Tuesday! It's time for another Transport Evolved fund stream, I guess. Kate, welcome.
Yes, it's good to be back.
Although you are in your garage.
Cold in here today.
But you have your heated jacket on. If those who don't know, Kate has a heated jacket. I have a heated jacket. They're very good.
Kate lives in her heated jacket. She actually has multiple heated jackets, but this one I bought for doing the stuff in the garage, and then was just like, I'm going to live in this. It's warm.
And the funny thing is that you lost some weight and you gave me your old one, and I lost some weight and I now live in the one you gave me. So thank you. Anyway, today has a very specific vibe to it. We are going to be talking all things DIY, right to repair, keeping EVs on the road, keeping our products on the road, and there's no better person to join us than the wonderful Daniel, aka Dala the Great from Dala's EV Repair. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
Hello.
So, for those who don't know, Dala is in Finland, and it is what, 9 o'clock in the evening for you now?
Yep.
So, if he seems a little sleepy, it's nearly bedtime. So, now, Dala, you've been working. You regularly get shout outs on TE. You have been working on right to repair and DIY EV projects for a really long time. You're an electrical engineer by profession. You work in the EV industry. I think that's probably the best way of putting that. I'll leave you to describe how much or little you want to talk about that. But tell us a little bit about Dala's EV Repair.
Yeah, so it all started around, I think it's 6 years ago since I started Dala's EV Repair. And the business has gone in quite many different directions. And it initially started out like just upgrading batteries or just repairing batteries for Nissan Leafs. But then it led me to having a lot of leftover batteries. And this kind of created the opportunity to go in a different direction and kind of focus on reusing batteries for energy storage systems. And that has kind of taken off a lot lately. So I'm kind of stuck only doing like battery stuff, but it's really fun to be stuck here. So yeah, that's where it's going right now.
And the word stuck is, I mean, you're in a really beautiful part of the world. So, you know, I would love to be stuck. We were talking about this before the show started. I would love to be stuck in Finland working with batteries. And let's talk about...
Very hard.
I know, right? Let's talk about... a lot of people worry about using old EV batteries for energy storage products. And we've talked on the channel before about the needs, the energy demand on a battery when you're using it in an EV versus when you're using it in a static energy storage product. Talk to us a little bit about that process and why it is totally okay to use Second Life EV batteries for storage, why that works so well.
Yeah. So I've taken apart like these brand batteries that you can buy for your solar inverters that are very expensive and very small. And these are like Chinese batteries, usually LFP, and they're just made as cheaply as possible so that they can get the maximum amount of profit on them. But using EV batteries or used EV batteries from crashed vehicles or wherever they come from, it makes much more sense because they are safer and also they are like much larger than these very expensive batteries. And the safety aspect is maybe the most important one, because EV batteries, they are like made to withstand constant noise vibrations, like being shaken around, being subjected to extremely cold or extremely hot like conditions, and then you demand like hundreds of kilowatts out of these batteries. So then when you go and repurpose them and use them in like stationary storage, you might only be asking for like 5 or 10 or 15 kilowatts at max. So it's like a very, very gentle like life for these batteries. And they will last even longer than in a vehicle this way.
Now,
So, yeah.
20 kilowatts, just to give you an idea, Kate and I, when we are reviewing cars, Kate, we regularly regularly exclaim how energy inefficient, especially some of the large American EVs are.
Yeah.
But your first mass-produced modern EV, the iMEV, which was a prototype, you had a prototype iMEV, it had a really small motor, and even then it used a lot of energy moving along, didn't it?
I think that maxed out at 50. Is it 50?
50 kilowatts sounds about right. Yeah.
Feel like, I mean, I have one there, but I don't think it has a rating plate on it. I think it says 50 though, if I remember right, which, I mean, it's interesting because compared to the motor, the non-electric motor in that, 50 kilowatts is quite a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
compared to what you need to lug a 2.5 ton EV down the road, it's not a lot for a modern vehicle. And compared to the usage in our house, it's still a lot.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, if you look right now, I'm going to pull up my Home Assistant dashboard. So I am an unusual house, right? We have 3 EVs charging right now. One primarily, but we are currently using just over 11 kilowatts, which is that would be nothing in an EV, wouldn't it, Dala? That would be like driving flat down the road slowly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if we circle back to the other part, which was that these EV packs are very large compared to like these expensive batteries. Like last week, we got Rivian batteries working like in Second Life application, and these batteries, like they come up to, I think it was 150 almost kilowatt hours of battery. I mean, it's such a massive battery to have as a home battery.
Yeah, I mean that's one reason why I have my F-150 Lightning, is because it has this massive battery pack, and we use a lot of electricity here. We're not a standard house. We're also the studio, but for most people, like 50 kilowatt hours of stored energy is enough to keep your home running for 3 days, right? If you're gentle with it. So Dala, the thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is that you can't just take a battery out of an EV and connect it to an inverter and then have it reliably work. You need something to communicate between the battery and the inverter to make sure that the battery doesn't get drained so it's too empty, or doesn't get charged so it's too full, because that is when we get into danger zones. And that's where the key of your work in the open source community has been, right?
Yes. Yeah, so like during the last 2 years, it feels like I've just been doing this battery emulator project and just adding more batteries into the mix and just adding more inverters that are supported, etc. And that's what the emulator does. It makes the inverter think that there is one of these expensive brand batteries still connected. And it then also on the other side, it makes the EV battery think that there is still a full vehicle like connected to the battery, so that it doesn't like get upset or throw a lot of error codes or like refuse to accept a charge or stuff like that. And it requires quite some effort in reverse engineering these battery protocols on both sides, both on the vehicle side and on the inverter side, to like kind of make your own like drop-in battery possible. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's also really super satisfying to actually see these projects like come to life. We recently did an estimate in the last video that I uploaded when I said that I think we have over 1,000 users of this battery emulator software. And then actually one of the one of the companies that make hardware specifically for this project, they contacted me and said, no, that can't be right. It's much more people than that. Like, I have been selling like, what said they said that they have sold like 350 kits just recently. So yeah, they were like thinking that, yeah, it's probably over 2,000 like installs that have been made with this. So it's a lot. And
what it consists of is it's a little effectively a hardware bridge, isn't it, that has a microcontroller. It interfaces with the original car battery pack that you've taken out of the vehicle. It reads the CAN bus, it interprets the data that battery pack natively provides, and then it translates that into language that the inverter can speak, right?
yes, correct. So usually the car will talk like CAN communication, and maybe the inverter will talk. It can talk also CAN, but somewhere like Modbus or these RS485 protocols, etc. So it's just acts as a translation layer, so they can understand each other.
It's a Babel fish. It's a Babel fish for batteries.
It's the Babel fish for batteries.
Yeah.
And it's important that, I mean, there's nothing that is being used here that is weird or janky. You're actually just converting between standard protocols. Obviously, each automaker and each battery company does special things, but you're effectively translating from one protocol to another. I know that I have 2 inverters and they both speak Modbus variants, and I could wire them up, but actually the process of making sure that inverter gets the exact information it needs to be able to function properly, that's the hard bit, isn't it? That's the difficult bit. And you have been running batteries at your home now for 6 years, 7 years?
Batteries at home only for 3 years, but
right.
It feels like longer, but yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, it's good to see though, because we have to get these batteries reused and repurposed. And we're at a point in history where I think there's a lot of pressure, specifically from automakers, to lock down their hardware. But I don't know, I have to ask you, Dala, when you are at an event, do you get engineers coming up to you from automakers going, I'm glad you're doing this, like off the record? Because we get it. I know we get it. When we go to events, they say, I could never say this on the record, but I'm really glad you were talking about this, this, and this.
Yes, for sure. I mean, also I've had like some OEMs like contact me and say that, hey, I think you should try this approach with our product. It might work better.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
We're not sharing this information, but we are telling you it.
So I have my Home Assistant add-on for the Ford Home Integration System, and I am using somebody else's Python-based API to bring data in. And I had that similar experience where I had someone who I know works at Ford reach out and goes, maybe you should try this to see if this works. And oh, yes, it does. Thank you very much. If anybody's watching, though, we are still wanting to try and get past Siemens. So the Charge Station Pro is a Siemens unit. The inverter is a Delta unit. And then there's, obviously, the vehicle is from Ford. And each have their own locked down systems. So trying to get the Siemens login information so we can actually pull more data out of it is problematic right now. We're basically polling it using a public API, but eventually I have this feeling someone's going to shut it down. So if anybody wants to help, there is a GitHub. And you do everything through your GitHub as well. I've just put the link on screen there, Dala.
Yeah, so it's like fully open source, and like private individuals like are powering their homes with it, but there are also companies that use this. So I know that like in Europe at least, I know that there's a few companies that have done, like one said that they did 30 installs and another company said that they did 50 installs using this. So they are really like leveraging this availability of these large crashed batteries that appear then on the used market. And it's so nice to see them go into use instead of just going into recycling.
Yeah, that's
Right.
really great to hear, especially because the recycling pathways are just not that robust yet. So it's very unclear what actually ends up happening to a lot of EV batteries. So knowing that, they're getting reused is awesome.
I do like the fact, and it's worth pointing out here. I don't know how it is in Finland, but I know in parts of the US, junkyards, scrapyards, breakers yards, recycling centers, whatever you want to call them, are very reluctant to take EVs because they are so worried about what the battery packs will do. Is that something you were seeing in Europe, Dala?
Not really. I mean, it depends on the country, but it's so many European countries have already had such a good adoption rate of EVs. So the breakers, scrapyards can't really afford to not take them. So they are coming in. It then depends on the country, and I'm actually a bit. Actually, regarding Finland, I'm a bit dissatisfied to see that it's actually a black hole here. So there are not a lot of batteries available like that you can buy. So here in Finland, I think they are going the recycling route, unfortunately. Or they are then going to businesses and they are like locking out like individuals from being able to buy them. But I'm lucky to live near Sweden and Norway and Denmark.
Right.
Because there it's really easy to buy batteries.
Right. It's just a quick trip for you. Well, quick.
Yeah.
It's a short journey for you to go and get.
It is interesting, though, that breakers aren't more interested in it, in reselling those components. And I guess it depends on what the legal framework is there for reselling battery components, because obviously selling scrap bits off cars is a way to make money that's more than the scrap value of the vehicle. And that's why, that's why traditionally breakers have let you go and get bits and pieces. But you would think that the battery, which is such an expensive component, like Finnish breakers would be super excited to be like, we can buy a car for less than the battery and sell the battery pack and then still sell all the other spares.
The wonderful rat biker that is Mouse, that is one of his older rat bikes in the picture. And one of his much missed dogs says, I've been thanked for taking a used EV battery from a breakers. They still charge me the going rate. This is my experience. I mean, I know when I lived in the UK and I was looking for batteries for my Prius, when I was making a plug-in Prius, I went to scrapyards and they didn't want to touch the battery. Now, bear in mind, this was like 15 years ago. They didn't want to touch the battery. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They were quite pleased that I turned up with all of the required safety equipment to safely disconnect and remove the battery. And then they just kind of stuck their finger in the air and went, that'll be £250, please, or whatever it was. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Obviously, modern lithium-ion batteries are given a really bad reputation by the media as being unsafe and all of this other stuff, which isn't true in their default conditions. But obviously, Dala, if you're looking at using an EV battery in a project like a static energy storage, what are the warning signs that you should kind of walk away from a battery?
Yeah, it depends a bit. Like most of the breakers here, they're quite generous and they offer like a 30-day warranty on most packs because they know that they are selling like products that are worth like a few €1,000s. So it is in their interest to keep like customers happy, and if they have a bad experience, they should be able to return it as long as they do it like quick enough. But then regarding how hard they are crashed is also like a factor. So if you can like visually assess it, that it doesn't have any creases or anything like that, that's good. Of course, that doesn't tell the whole story, but I've seen like crashed vehicles that look like, wow, that doesn't look good at all, and then you look at the battery, and the battery is like perfectly good because it was like sitting so low and like protected and out of the way. So but the best thing is if either the seller or yourself can do a like check, like if you bring the battery emulator or like an OBD scanner or something like that, and you check out the battery and you look at the readings and you see if the cells all look the same, if there are no like cells that are like going up really high in voltage or really down, that would indicate maybe a ruptured cell or something like that. So it's really good to be able to check out the battery like with actually a tool. And then you can also see the state of health. That's a really good also indicator.
Yeah, and the leaf, the leaf has a lot. If you're looking at leaf cells, they have a lot of information from the BMS, and there are some good third-party apps that you can buy. Leaf Spy, you can plug into those. Question for you from Stefan, who is in Denmark. He says, I do not find it easy to get a hold of EV batteries here in Denmark. Where do you get them from?
Well, you are kind of lucky that you also live quite near Norway. I know a lot of people are just ordering batteries from Norway. There are some insanely large scrapyards, especially like in the Oslo region. And you can just hop on their webpage, like for instance, Grönvolds Bildemontering or something like that. And you can just order batteries. They will take care of the shipping and like the taxation, etc. Like everything is just so easy. That's like if you need them now. Of course, you can look for deals and try to find something local. I'm not really familiar with Denmark, but I know if you search around, you should be able to find also closer deals. Of course, in Sweden, it's also possible to buy them, but yeah, it depends.
And as battery technology improves and we're seeing more and more EVs, there's some really cracking previous generation technologies now available, right?
Yes. Like the cells that you can, like also when you buy these, I call them crashed packs, but it sounds really bad to call them crashed packs. Let's say collision damaged vehicle batteries. If you get like a model year 2024 or 2025 battery, I mean, you should be set for 20 to 30 years with like an amazing battery. Like, and if you compare that to those brand batteries, the Chinese LFP packs that they sell for the solar inverters, they have a warranty of between 2 and 5 years because that's what they expect them to last. So having that insanely oversized battery will also ensure that you don't like do the depth of discharge and you cycle it all the way from 100 down to 0 every day, so that you kind of stay in between and you kind of even it out, and that will make it last even longer. So really nice.
And obviously, whenever you're working with anything like this, I guess I should throw in the mandatory disclaimer. You shouldn't be working on systems you don't understand. You need to make sure you understand the basic electronics, you understand high voltage electronics, you understand the basics of how inverters work and all of that stuff. You know, if I say, do you know what a contactor is? Do you know what CAN bus is? If you don't know those things, you need to go and do some preliminary reading first. Where's a good place to go to learn? Because obviously we're all about learning, right?
Yeah, we're actually trying to build, like at this battery emulator page, there is a wiki section on GitHub. And that is a place where we are trying to build like a knowledge base on how to do like safer installs, what to look out for specific batteries and inverters, etc. And especially the installation guidelines is something that we are really hard at developing now. So just making users aware of things, like it can be really simple things like what are wires, what are fuses, like how do you like size them up for your project, how do you do the calculations, what type of fuses should you use, like should you use these ceramic fuses or these DIN mounted fuses, etc. And especially like battery placement, that's like it's such a big deal of the like overall install. So the philosophy here is that you should never install batteries in in a building where there are like humans occupying the space, because then you can have like, if disaster were to struck and you would have a fire, then you don't want it to be in a place where it can like affect someone or
Right.
in that way. So having it in like a detached shed or like a container outdoors or so somewhere for like, these are really basic things, but it's also so important to point them out and to have them like in a wiki or somewhere that you can like read about it and yeah, so you get the full picture and you are aware of the risks and everything. So yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
and
assuming, sorry, Karen Kate.
I was just going to say, I think it's really important, and I'm really glad that you have a wiki, because I know from a lot of the projects for DIY reuse, you often find that it's like a series of videos that were produced a few years ago, and you watch them, and then you're like, well, I have questions, and then you go to a forum and you're asking the same questions that someone asked 3 years ago. You're like, what is the answer to this? And so if you're coming at this as someone who's very new to battery storage, having a wiki that's well written and well like covers the real basics as well as the more advanced stuff is so important.
I think that a lot of and the other challenge with people that don't do wikis, like projects that don't have that background, is that all it takes is one person to stop working on that project and for a massive amount of information to be lost. I know, speaking from experience, and I know we have at least 2 other Vectrex VX1 owners watching right now. With the Vectrex VX1 maxi scooter, it's coming up on 20 years old. There is a WhatsApp group that you have to have a special invite to. The link's not public. Once you get in there, there's a Google Drive that's full of information, but it's all haphazard, and you have to know someone to know how to do these things, because a lot of the basic information has been lost to time. And there are 2, maybe 3 really knowledgeable people who know everything there is to know, but they assume that everybody else also knows, you know. So I was asking a question the other day about brass standoffs and what size, you know, what specifics of the bolt and how did people electroplate them, and I ended up just going in. I've got some electroplating stuff. I'm going to be doing my own thing from scratch, but I want to make sure I document it so that other people don't have to go through that same thing. And Mouse, who also owns a Vectrex, has just backed me up. Loads of info, but it's a bit of a mess. And that's true of a lot of open source projects. So Dala, how do you make sure that with an open source project, the engineering is approachable and accessible?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of projects that are kind of gatekeeping the project. Like, even though they are very open, they still have like very complicated like approval processes, etc. So when I started this battery emulator page, like especially like the wiki, like anyone can edit it. Like, and it goes like both ways. You can think of it that, yeah, it's important and you can get someone that is sabotaging it, but so far there hasn't really been any problems. And having it like very easily editable, that makes it so that it's a lower threshold for people to get over to come in and contribute and edit the content there. Like, so I think at least the wiki pages should definitely like be open. And also, like, it's open source, anyone can submit like a pull request, just if they have found something that they want to improve. And we have a very nice team also on my own Discord server. We are like talking about the development and any issues or planning a release or things like this. And if we circle back, also now I'm going a bit off topic, but if you go back to like the safety, because I really think that safety is the #1 priority here, because we don't want anyone to like burn something down or create some dangerous situation, and that would then cause legislation to pop up which would try to block this or ban this or restrict it in some silly way. So that's why I think it's also so important to have all these guides available so that people can do it right from the start and not mess it up.
And to have a paper trail as well, which protects the team.
Yes. every single wiki page starts off with like a disclaimer at the top that high voltage is like dangerous and can kill you. So if you are unsure what you are reading, you should contact a like licensed electrician or something. So that's a part of every single page.
And the other thing I want to highlight is, because, disclaimer, I support you on Patreon. I know some of our patrons support you on Patreon. I love the project. I love what you're doing. But one of the things that I think is very different for you, and I think there's one other project that I'm part of that I've seen the same thing happen, and that is the Frog Pilot community for the Chevrolet Bolt or semi-autonomous thing for the comma system. They do the same thing that you do, which is when something does go wrong, when there is an issue, you get you make a post and you go, hey, this thing happened, it was bad, here's why it was bad, here's what happened. You did that about 2 or 3 months ago when someone had an issue with some power electronics that went bad, right?
Yeah. And things like that are really important to highlight. Like I think one of the incidents was that someone was going to measure high voltage with a multimeter, and it was 800 volts. It was a very, very large battery, and they had the multimeter leads set in the wrong position, so they were accidentally going to measure the current instead of the voltage. So that resulted in quite a big arc.
Yeah.
Things like this can be like devastating. So in the wiki it goes, and it just we just continuously improve, learning by mistakes, and hope, like, thankfully so far no one has made any like super severe mistakes. They have everyone has escaped without any like lasting damages. And
I think there's also something to be said for when we work on our own projects, especially if we're a little engineer mindset, we look at something and we go, oh, that will be fine. I know that this is dangerous. I don't need to worry about it. But in being intentional about the safety procedures and protocols that we follow ourselves, we encourage other people to do that. So for my bike conversion, I designed and 3D printed battery caps for each individual module, because I know I didn't need it. But I know if I ever sell the bike or something happens down the line and I'm having a bad day and I'm not paying attention, it's one spanner dropped over a terminal and the whole thing goes bang.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I learned, I don't know if you know this, I'm technically a certified hybrid mechanic, but it was, 10
years ago?
15 years ago
that
I did the course. And one of the things that they really drilled into you, the course, was like, you make sure you have physical lockouts on you doing something stupid. So you lock, in the case of the cars, you lock the keys away in a separate drawer, so you can't just come and turn the car on. Like, you do all these separate steps. And I think that making sure that people who particularly are maybe newer to doing this and are starting to come at this from a position where they don't have that background experience, learn those kinds of skills as they do and can build in those safe practices is really important. It's good that, when you're writing the wiki and when you're writing your guides, you're including that. Is there something that you do to encourage people to add to the wiki?
Well, of course, it's much easier to get just users, and a lot of the times I force myself to write in the wiki because I know that someone is just writing a quick message to me, or if they're writing a Discord group or something, and to make sure that the information is not lost, I then try to hop on the wiki like directly and just add it right away. Of course, I could be really nitty-picky and just tell them, hey, could you add this to the wiki? But then sometimes it's just better to quickly do it yourself just to get it in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So another thing, if we circle back to safety for like the third time, my previous background was in automotive, no, not automotive, but it was in these, it was, what should we call it? It was developing control systems for like large power plants and engines. And some of the things when these control systems would be used in ships or in these power plants, they had to go through like certain coding standards. And because when there was like human safety involved in these control systems, they need to be much more strict and coded in a certain way. So I've tried to adopt these practices also back into this battery emulator in certain places. And it can be really small things that you wouldn't really think about. But one of the nice examples is like we have a status LED on the board, which tells you what's going on and what's the status. So if everything is okay, then it's green and it's like slowly blinking. And that slow blink, it does a few things. It tells you that the board has not locked up or crashed or something, so that you see that it's continually pulsing, so you know it's alive. And then you can have like these color coded that, okay, you can have a warning, then it goes yellow, or it can enter into a really critical fault and then it goes red. But then if it goes red, then it would then switch to like a solid color, so that even though you are colorblind or not able to like see these specific colors, you would know that, hey, okay, now something has happened. But of course, this is just a small example. Of course, the code, then we actuate contactors in case things look like if the cells start to deviate too much or they go out of bounds or temperatures go wrong, then of course we open contactors right away and let the user know. So yeah, safety is really, really important.
Really, really important. And if you want to support the fantastic work that Dala's doing, please go to Dala's Patreon page. The links are in the show notes and join up. It's a great way to ensure that not only are you helping to ensure the continued development of a fantastic open source design that helps people reuse EV battery packs for static energy storage, but it also means that you are supporting the open source community, you're supporting independence, and that's something that we know really well here at Transport Evolved, which brings us, I think, Kate, to the kind of the fundraisery bit of this live stream, which is, for those who don't know, Transport Evolved has been going now for coming up on 15 years. We've been in the US for 10. And we've tried to remain 100% independent. We are just back from IAA in Munich, where we were invited by a company that paid for our airfare and our accommodation. They are going to be reimbursing it to us. But one of the things we experienced when discussing that event was how much pressure there is on independent journalists and content creators to become effectively advertisers, and we refuse to do that at the channel. And that means that we lose out on a lot of the opportunities of larger channels. We don't do a lot of the sponsor segments. You won't see us hawking oven meals or stuff, although no disrespect to those. Sorry?
Razor blades.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if that razor blade company wanted to work with us, I would totally do it, because I'm going to say, yes, I use Henson shaving products. I think they're great because they're just a razor blade. But you know, we're not into just hawking products for the sake of hawking products. If you see a product advertised on Transport Evolved, it's because someone on the team actually uses it and thinks it's good. And we don't do any kind of paid advertorials or paid content. The only example is if somebody says, "Hey, will you come to an event?" and we go, "Hey, cover our costs." So, full disclaimer: we've been invited down to California in 2 weeks' time to attend an event. We are driving there for a very good reason. In the Bolt. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We normally take the F-150 Lightning. I'm not saying anything else, but you can probably be able to infer why we might want to be taking a shorter range, slower charging EV to an event in LA. and we're going to get our travel covered, and that's it. Our travel and accommodation. But a lot of people ask for more, and the downside of us being independent and very strict about what we accept or what we don't accept is that we need your support to keep running. And Transport Evolved has been relying now on Patreon for 10 years. And as YouTube ad revenue has dropped, and I know, Dala, we've talked about this as well, it's becoming difficult to make any money on YouTube, right?
Yes.
It's genuinely kind of hilarious when you look at the amount you make off a video.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I have a much smaller channel than you, and I remember, like, was it like 2 or 3 years ago, I could be getting, like, it would feel like really good. You could get like maybe $300 or something like that per month. And now, even though my channel is bigger, I get like $50. So it has gone down. Like, it's laughable. They like it could be like 0 per month soon. It's like, wow. I can't understand it.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of the content that's being published is fake, AI generated, and factually inaccurate. And I do worry about the future of people's viewing habits when this AI generated stuff starts going into DIY projects, because, AI, while it has its uses, is not the place you go to for consultation on circuit design or coding or, if I'm working on something, I use coding. I will use AI to syntax check. So if I'm writing something and it doesn't work, I will throw it into an AI and go, spot the error, and it will find it. But that's about the limit. But when it comes to YouTube, it doesn't really make any income for us anymore. Just like Dala, our income has dropped. It is now about 1/10 of what it was a year ago, despite our view counts going up, despite everything else. YouTube is also not supporting us as creators when it comes to comments. Aside from this live stream, we have turned off comments on our channel because of repeated threats to the team, threats to our lives, threats to dox us and other things, and it's just not acceptable. And YouTube is this big corporate entity that wants to, dominate all. We've looked at alternative hosting options, so we could go with PeerTube, but the costs to host on PeerTube are into the thousands if you do a proper, comprehensive, dedicated thing. So Patreon really does help, and for just $1.50 US a month, people can help us to continue to remain independent and impartial. We are targeting 20 to 40% increase in our Patreons during the month of September and October, and if you join during those months, you're going to get a free digital piece of art. Now, we don't normally do exclusive Patreon content because we think information should be free for everyone. The only thing that you get if you're a Patreon really is you get access to our content 1 day ahead of schedule.
And
1 day
you
ahead
also
of when
get
it's
some
due to go.
Patreon channels on the Discord. So
you do get some Patreon channels on the Discord, and if you are a top tier Patreon supporter, you also get a few extra perks. But for the most part, we believe that anything we make on Patreon should be free to everyone. So during September and October, Erin is designing an amazing digital art piece that will be like a digital desktop, and after that time has passed, so after probably November, December time, we will sell it in our store, in our Patreon store. So if you miss out, you will be able to do it. But I just wanted to throw that in. Also, the TET knowledge and experience as an asset. Woohoo for independence. Thank you very much. It does help us all. So what have you been up to outside of your battery projects, your battery emulator, Dala?
Well, some of you or you, I think, are aware that I have a day job also, which is very exciting. I work at Kempower. So Kempower is a manufacturer of like DC fast charging equipment, and that is leading me to very interesting developments in the EV world. So I think it was 1 or 2 weeks ago that we did the first MCS charging.
Yes, yeah, we covered it.
Megawatt charging system in Sweden, and that was, I mean, that's so cool to see like trucks that are charging at almost like 1 megawatt, like, and like the batteries are the limiting factor still. So I think it will take a few generations like before we see like a few megawatts going into those like vehicles. But it's like, wow, the future is looking very bright in like the heavy duty transportation.
It's so exciting to watch from 1935. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Come now, it's all of like 1938.
Oh, it's already 1930. Yeah, okay, yeah. We, for those who don't know, the US president spoke at the United Nations earlier and came up with some really laughable claims, including the one that rubbish, takes 2 weeks to go from China to LA. And I'm not entirely sure if the president has demonstrated an understanding of ocean currents.
Yeah.
The less we say about that, the better.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Kate, what are you up to in the DIY and projecty world?
I mean, the last thing I did was I fixed my bass guitar amp, which has been sat on that bench in front of the inverter for 6 months. So I did that, which does mean that there is now space on the desk, so I could actually come back out here and potentially do the thing which I keep promising to do, which is hook up the motor to the inverter and test it. And that was actually going back to the wiki thing. Like, a large chunk of my time when I started doing this was going through the forum and updating the wiki to match the updated information in the forum, because yes, I'm technically I'm certified as a hybrid mechanic, but I did it as a journalist and like someone who came from the experience of looking after that object, which electrically it has a 12-volt battery. So
I want to just say I miss Rebecca. Rebecca, your Morris Minor is just.
I keep coming every time I come out here. She looks at me and she's like, "Why aren't you spending money on me?" I haven't consumed thousands of dollars for years.
Kate, can we have how many years has it been since you purchased Rebecca?
Oh, about 10.
We are closing in on 30 something years now. 33?
About that. I bought it when I was 34. About 13. So, like I said, 10 years ago. Yeah. So that's kind of the big thing. The major problem is, one, like the documentation for connecting the iMove motor to the inverter is not great, and requires things that I technically know how to do but have never done. And so it's one of those, well, this is going to take a while and I need to sit down and I need to make sure that this is the most current version of the information. So it's kind of a project, but I really, really want to get it done because I want to drive my car.
Yeah,
it's silly and
I want you to get your car running. We need to do like a crowdfunding campaign to raise you some funds to do your car.
Well, yeah, there's also the battery, and like I haven't quit. I have massively cut my hours in the day job that pays me much more money to set up a business that
this is the second time. Do you need a pay rise? I've asked you this twice today.
You have. I don't think you're going to cover that difference.
Oh, no.
Not unless this Patreon campaign is very successful.
Very successful, yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm an ER nurse in one of my other jobs, but I have cut my hours because I'm setting up a business that is unrelated to anything we're talking about here. So,
it's a very cool business, and we'll find out more about it in the future. I know about it, but I'm not saying anymore.
No, yeah, I mean, It's not really for this stream, but we can do it
No,
some
it's not
other
really for this stream. I, meanwhile, have been scaring myself with projects over the weekend. So this was my first project over the weekend. Sorry, I just
Oh.
put it straight over Dala's face. That was this was the capacitors in an electric bike charger that was connected to a cheap Chinese e-bike that we were sent to review, and it was so terrible we couldn't actually get through the review process. The charger broke because there's no conformal coating on this. This is not designed to be used outside at all, but of course bicycles don't come inside, so it got very corroded. I ended up buying a replacement unit online for cheap, and at the weekend I desoldered the original charge cable and put the new one on. The original unit had an NTC line, the new one does not, but I have decided, considering that it only charges at like 1 or 2 amps, it should be fine. Also working on this part that arrived the other day. If you are a Ford F-150 Lightning owner, you will know what this is. And it goes in, I think, will go in here. I will have to cut the tabs, but it's a rotary gear shifter for the F-150 Lightning to get rid of the really problematic big chunky one. And I've been learning how to use my Carvera Air. I think I'm just about ready to start making those posts. It's taken me about 6 months. Like you were saying, Kate, takes you a long time to kind of get yourself up to do I understand what I'm doing? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
Well, after I tried to blow up the inverter, we thought maybe I should be a bit more careful. So
yeah, my batteries for my bike have been sat in my my music space for about 6 months now, and I've been checking. They're all like sitting at about 3.8, 3.7, 3.8 volts, which is storage voltage. But I don't want them to be there forever. They were very low when I bought them, and I basically slowly brought them up over the course of several weeks, charging them in milliamps rather than amps. And eventually I got them up to balance the cells. I manually balanced all the cells. Next on my list is to build a BMS loom. I hate soldering small components, so I've been putting that off as well. But soldering crimping all of the cables and making that is, I'm not looking forward to. But, where is it? I like tools. So one of the tools I bought recently was a really good quality pair of crimpers. And I also really pushed the boat out and bought some hydraulic crimping tools so that I can hydraulically crimp the main battery cables on. So,
which I'll be borrowing at some point.
Which you are going to borrow. That's why I bought them. And I'm also just got a 3D scanner because America, it's really difficult to buy components in America. Like, we recently had a microphone clip break on one of our microphones, and we pinged the company that made it, and they go, oh yeah, you can buy a replacement, they're in China.
Yeah.
It was going to cost us $30.
Yeah.
To get a microphone clip.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this microphone clip here, this little clip, $30. So we said no. This is from another piece of camera equipment that has got a big crack in it, but it's just really hard, strong plastic. So I got a 3D scanner. I'm gonna scan it, and then I will make a replacement part. Where do you see the future of making and engineering parts to be, Dala? Like 3D scanning, self-made PCBs, places like PCBWay, there are others, are doing incredible democratization of DIY projects, right?
Yeah. And if we go back to the start with this right to repair and all this, like at least in the European Union, we are making like great progress here. There is some new, very cool legislation that I'm waiting that's gonna kick in like I think it was late 26 or early 27. That will basically force EV makers to kind of give out more information about how to reuse like batteries, so that they can be evaluated for secondary like life. So I have like an email template that I'm like drafting, and once that law kicks in, I'm just gonna send it to every single automaker and be like, hey, this is now in effect. I need this information. Can you provide it? It's the law. So
That's
at least,
going to make your life so much easier.
Yeah, at least here it's looking good.
And do you think that Chinese battery firms are like Chinese automakers? Because I mean, like a lot of the Chinese EVs are not old enough yet to be second life unless they've been crashed, right?
Yeah, we have actually these Chinese EVs. We have started to see a lot of, for instance, BYD vehicles, and I'm really thankful that these Chinese vehicles, they are very simple. Like if you compare like a Chinese battery with like a German battery, the Chinese battery will not have any kind of safety checks on like communication or obfuscation or things like that. It will just do the thing. There will be no CRCs or special magic bytes or anything. So they are not looking to protect themselves as much as these kind of legacy automakers when it comes to this. So it's much easier to reverse engineer the Chinese stuff for sure.
And that's actually something that obviously we're not seeing here in the US because it's very closed loop, very restrictive. And while we do have right to repair in some states, automakers generally are pushing back. You know, I would love to see legislation pushed that say that when a car company stops producing parts for a vehicle, they must by law hand over their IP for that vehicle, or at least basic technical information. So maybe not IP, but like, for example, a good example is Mercedes-Benz, right? They've stopped making Gen 4 or Gen 3 smart car batteries. There aren't any left. They've just not got any left. They should be required, I think, to hand over the basic specs. This is the communication protocol for the battery. This is the voltage the battery needs to be at. Here's the dimensions of the battery pack, and then let other people create solutions that keep that vehicle on the road, because EVs can last far longer than, you know, petrol cars.
Yep.
So
I think we saw one of the things, going back to the iMEV, that is really interesting and relates to that, is like the iMEV has a notoriously difficult battery pack to upgrade because of the way that its BMS and its battery pack communicate. iMEVs will last much longer than their batteries because that's a very old technology battery, and it's not treated particularly well. I mean, it turns the aircon on and blows cold air at the battery when you rapid charge it. That's how it keeps its battery safe. And that, like, my secret thing is that I love my Morris Minor, and the other car I would have would be an iMEV. Like, my first generation pre-production iMEV is the most fun vehicle I've had.
It really was.
Morris Minor. But it has 50-ish miles of range on a good day. And the city I live in the US, if I could get one here, which actually I suppose we're approaching the point where I'll be able to import one.
Yeah.
If I could get one here, it's really tricky to live here with a 50-mile EV, because I can do 30 or 40 miles in basic errands before I've even like started my day.
Yes.
Which is a whole urban planning problem. But having having the ability to upgrade that battery would be awesome. The only company that I know can do it is in Australia.
Yes, yes. And this is, you know, you're right. It is a city planning thing. It's a public transit thing, but also giving people the tools they need to be able to keep their vehicles on the road is so important. I have been slowly hacking and improving our Chevy Bolt. It's well out of its warranty. It's 8 years old now. It is at that point where, as a car, it is fine. As long as I can get mechanical components for it, we will keep driving it because it does everything we need it to do. I don't need a car with, 300 miles of range. I need a car that can get me to the shops and back. You know, like you were saying, the other night we went out for a takeaway, and the takeaway that we chose to go to was the second nearest takeaway to our house. If you don't, the second independent takeaway nearest to our house. How about that?
Yeah.
And it was a 25-mile round trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's not. We don't go out for food very often. This is why I grow my own food. I've been very lucky. We've grown a lot of our own food, but having that ability
Okay.
to work on your own vehicles, to do your own things. This is why I'm frustrated with the Ford home integration system, because it is proprietary. There is no reason why I couldn't connect another EV to that system and have it power my home, except for the fact that Siemens has locked down that communication protocol. It's not written down and publicly accessible. You have to pay a lot of money to be able to. You're going to show us something, Kate.
Well, I was just going to say, like, it's slightly insane that my car is, 60 years old now? 69? Yeah, basically. And I can go and order online the parts for it and have them
That's a
shipped to
radiator,
me.
Cat. Is that a thermostat? A radiator?
It's a thermostat.
Bed thermostat, yeah.
It's my spare thermostat that I brought. Like, it's slightly insane that I can do that more easily, and I can have a range of options to buy. Like, I can go and find like 10 or 20 different companies that will make the part that I need to keep that on the road with a gas engine. But if I want to go and buy the parts to connect up the iMeave, it's scrap parts. That's what I can get.
It's strange. I didn't recognize that thermostat, Kate, because normally I in order to identify it as a thermostat, it needs to be encrusted in about 10 years worth of water deposits, hard scale and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is new.
Dala, it's been great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
today.
And I really hope that your campaign is working well. And I just now clicked and I have upgraded my membership on your Patreon as well. So
Thank you.
We mutually support each other. I love that about the Patreon community. Additionally, if people want to go and support Dala, please do, because the work that's being done on the battery emulator program is phenomenal. And just as a reminder, if you joined late, the whole idea of the battery emulator is that it allows you to use Second Life EV battery packs that have been taken out of vehicles that have been scrapped for whatever reason, but perfectly functioning EV batteries. And the project provides a translation between what the car speaks and its BMS speaks and what the inverter that's on the side of your house speaks. And that means instead of, spending literally tens of thousands of euro, dollars, whatever your local currency is, you can build a resilient, open source home energy storage solution that you can have on grid, off grid, whatever you need, feed it with your own solar or whatever, using perfectly usable Second Life battery packs. So please go and support that project there. Links are in the description. Kate, we will be back next week with another live stream. Do you know who our guest is?
I actually don't yet.
They like small, quirky cars. They also have a loud turkey.
Do they also have, and I'm not sure if they still have it, but a bus?
They don't have a bus anymore.
Okay.
They sold it.
I didn't realize
the bus.
Sold that.
They got rid of the bus, but
They do have a think, and I've always wanted a think.
They have a think, they have a foam car, they have a twike, they have a solo that's no longer with a roof. I think I've dropped
Robin
enough
Reliant
hints.
in the States.
A Robin Reliant, they have a Trabby, which, you know, is the pinnacle of automotive collector. So we're going to have lots of fun next week with the lovely Robert from Aging Wheels. He's going to be joining us next week. Multiple solos, yeah. And fun story, bizarre story. So Robert did a video last week with Ed March doing a random appearance in the video. Now, Ed is the guy who's been riding around the world, used to ride around the world on a Honda C90, has currently been driving across parts of Utah off-road in a modified Chinese off-road truck that he rebuilt with a quad engine. And at some point, and I don't know, I haven't been able to talk to everyone involved, our mutual friend John used to own a City L in the UK, and some yobs pushed it over and smashed its roof. And the City L had a smashed roof. It was then sold to another mutual friend of ours, Adam, who bought it and was going to turn it into convertible. Now, sometime between Adam and me seeing it for sale a couple of years ago, Ed March ended up buying it because Ed March was the guy selling it. So I've got to track Ed down and go, tell me about the City L that you owned and then sold, because I know where it came from. And when you have weird car, I was going to say weird car fetishes, but when you have weird car collector people together, sometimes fun things like that happen. Thanks everyone for watching today. I do have some thoughts. Join the Discord if you want to hear more about. People have been asking about Everything Electric. Apparently stuff happened at Everything Electric this year. I will talk about it in the Discord. People are also asking questions about our trip to Germany with CATL and the interviews that we did. I will give you the full skinny in our Discord, so make sure you join that as well. Thank you, everybody. It has been wonderful. As always, be kind, be an advocate for everyone, check in on the vulnerable people in your life, and until next time.
Thank you.
Keep evolving.
Bye-bye.
Finding where it rips. Two phases. Slide it up. Inboard wheel. That's the thing. Keep evolving.